With the officially sanctioned and Codemasters Birmingham developed Formula 1 games currently riding the crest of a wave, thanks to F1 2020's engrossing My Team career mode and the popularity of esports, continuing to take the series forward will be a big undertaking. The most recent instalment ticks many of the boxes required for a great racing video game. Solid online performance with many lobby options, an in-depth career mode, a deluge of single player options and even Formula 2. But we think there are some further additions that could take the game to the next level. Here then are our most wanted features for the F1 franchise. Improved track representations. One thing we really hope for on next-gen hardware is for Codemasters to start from scratch with the circuit representation using laser scanning technology. Now this might be difficult with COVID-19 potentially restricting travel at the minute, especially as you need to actually visit the tracks to gather the data, but if not in F1 2021, sometime in the future. Please. Some examples of the current track models looking a little bit dated now are the strange dip in the asphalt at the beginning of turn 13, at the Hungaroring, and its skew with pit lane entry. Suzuka doesn't look particularly smooth, and some tracks don't have up-to-date curbing and signage locations. These quirks might be small, but they are in many of the recent F1 titles and simply do not exist in real life. At the very least, it's time to go back and revise some of the more established circuits to bring those track models up to speed with other racing games on the market. Speaking of tracks, more circuit layouts. This request may feel a little strange at first because why would you want more tracks than F1 currently races at in an officially licensed video game? It seems a little frivolous, but after you've played a largely similar track roster through many years of F1 games, some variation wouldn't go amiss. Shorter or alternative layouts for some existing circuits were first introduced in F1 2017, but not a single new one has been added since. These were initially for Bahrain, Suzuka, Silverstone and Circuit of the Americas. Strangely for Bahrain, it's only one extremely short configuration that's included. Adding in the Sakhir Grand Prix outer circuit or the longer endurance circuit layouts used in 2010 would be useful additions. Similarly for Silverstone, the international layout is included, but not the national version. Tracks that are already in the game but omit different layouts available in real life include the Shanghai International Circuit, Barcelona, Paul Ricard, Yas Marina and the Red Bull Ring. More of these shorter versions would be a welcome addition, especially for online racing. Oh Jeff. One of the funniest elements of playing an older F1 game online with friends was the introduction of using voice commands to ask your engineer, Jeff, about certain parameters. One of the parameters was about fuel usage. To trigger Jeff into life you had to say fuel target out loud. Unfortunately, the game had a hard time picking up Scottish accents, which led to a fellow racer repeating fuel target over and over, getting increasingly outraged. I found it absolutely hilarious.
What's my fuel?
P3, you are currently
I said
P3.
fuel. What's my fuel level?
Currently, the fastest lap is a 1 minute 7.2.
Anyway, the point is, even though nowadays you can use the menu to speak to Jeff, your vocal in-race engineer can still be, at times, a little erratic, such as telling you how great your race stat was despite losing positions, or congratulating you on a great overtake even though you're still in last position. This certainly provides some mild entertainment, but perhaps additional lines could be recorded, and the process of how the game decides what he says could be refined too.
Do I have any damage?
Bottas behind.
Do I have damage?
We have no rival at this time.
At times, it's like trying to get HAL 9000 to open the door.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
The return of Webber and Butler. Alongside the introduction of F2 in the F1 2019 game, the Codemasters team also included a brief story, as your character battled fictional junior rivals Lucas Webber and Devon Butler. Both vying for future stardom, with Butler playing a more ruthless Dan Tictamesque character. This played out through a series of cutscenes in between a short run of F2 races and on-track scenarios. Sure, the story was hardly The Last of Us, but the seeds had been sown for the story-led career. Weirdly then, despite your counterparts also progressing into F1 alongside you, the story stopped as soon as you reached the upper league. In F1 2020, with my team now extremely detailed and arguably the main career mode, the driver career felt superfluous. The dream for us is to have a brand new story for the driver career to supplement my team, analogous to how FIFA and Madden series added the Journey storyline alongside Ultimate Team, not one or the other. Formula 3 and W Series. Yep, you could see this one coming. Ever since the F2 support category was successfully added to F1 2019, it is proven the appetite for further single-seat formulas on the F1 build to be included in the top-tier game, namely Formula 3 and W Series. Watching young and hungry talents such as Piastri, Pourchaire and Sargent duke it out in epic F3 battles was a highlight of the 2020 motorsport season. Having these cars in a future game will surely go down a storm, and no additional tracks will need to be added. Sometimes a closely fought race in slower cars can provide the best racing, and the tight slipstreaming packs evident in F3 and W Series races should create frenetic action in video game form. W Series, the single-seater championship for female drivers, will support 8 Grand Prix for the very first time this year, and while it might be a tight turnaround to include it in F1 2021, we think this will be another excellent addition to the series at some point. Simply, the support categories add variety to the game, should be fun online, and can provide more depth to the career modes. The use of classic cars. The recent F1 games have a varied selection of classic cars from Formula 1's storied history, and they are a blast to race with. The trouble is, there perhaps isn't enough to use them for. Sure, during a My Team season you can choose to do optional classic car challenges in between the main races, and you can use the vehicles in online lobbies and time trial, but that's about it. What we'd like are some classic tracks to use the matching classic cars on. We know this is possible, and what gives us a hankering is that F1 2013 provided just that. Back then, Jerez, Estoril, Imola and Brands Hatch were included, although 2 of them were post-release DLC, to go alongside cars from the 1980s and 1990s. Driving Michael Schumacher's 1995 Benetton in F1 2020 is cool, but it feels out of place driving it around Baku. Secondly, some scenarios and challenges that recreate epic on-track battles from years past would really set the tone, something that previous MotoGP games have actually offered. Maybe include some archive race footage and then throw you into the action. We'd even happily pay extra for this in a form of DLC. New R&D programs. A large element of the career modes in an F1 game is the development of your car and team. Completing races provides you with R&D points which can then be spent on upgrades that enhance your performance. If you participate in practice sessions you can gain additional points by doing a series of programs. It's engrossing. Sadly, these challenges have remained largely the same for several seasons now. If you've not played an F1 game for a while, then you won't mind. But if you're a yearly player, these have become a bit stale. Track climatization, tyre management, fuel management, ERS management, qualifying pace, race strategy, and more general team objectives haven't been significantly changed in far too long, so new ways of testing the vehicle would be a small but essential addition to a future game. Perhaps these could be along the lines of running a new front wing design, or completing laps with a recommended setup alongside some of the existing tasks, just to mix things up a little bit. Overall, we really enjoy the F1 game series. These are just a few suggested ideas. That's it for now, but what do you think? Do we have any glaring omissions? How about track limit penalties, for example? We'd like to hear your ideas in the comments below and on TraxionGG's social media. Subscribe for more F1 videos coming very soon, and as always, keep it pinned.
You are Jeff.